Good morning. It's still morning just about. It's Tuesday the 28th of October and I'm here for my October half-term update. Yeah, I made it to half-term. Let's just say Septembered really hard and October wasn't. October picked up a bit, but Septembered. I will leave it at that. So I'd like to welcome you all. This is Flosstube number 47. I am Caroline. I live in Leeds in West Yorkshire. And I would just like to say that I have hit my 7th year of floss tubing. I first uploaded a video in October 2018. So for those of you who might have been watching, if any of you have been watching me that long, thank you very much. If you're new here, hope you stick around. Please subscribe, like, comment, etc. And everyone is very welcome to watch my videos. This video is about my craft. These videos are about my crafting life. This one is mostly about cross stitch, but there is a bit of knitting in this one. And you can find me around the internet on Instagram mostly as Caroline A. Kemp, and Caroline spelled with a K. And I have a blog which I periodically update, and that is carolinescorner.blogspot.com. So I have my cup of tea. I may cough a bit and get a bit hoarse through this video. My daughter at the beginning of October overshared a really nasty respiratory virus that floored me for a few days. So hopefully I can cut out any times I cough during this video. I have a lot to share with you, so we will crack straight on. First thing is, if you watched my last video, you know I set myself a challenge of finishing 60 objects, fully finishing 60 things, previously finished things, by my 60th birthday, which is September 2028. And I have finished another 3, which takes me to my total for the challenge so far to 4, which, you know, I'm only a couple of months in. I don't think that's too bad. So the first thing I finished was a chart by a design by the Drawn Thread. Now this is called Holiday Thanks. You won't have ever seen this on a video because I stitched it back in 2008. I mean, to be fair, I had a baby in 2008, so, but it really shouldn't have taken 17 years to finish off such a simple finish. So I think I may have originally wanted to do something a bit more complicated, but I ended up just pulling it out and doing a simple pillow finish, and it goes in my autumn displays. I mean, I know we don't. I consider this more of a harvest design rather than a Thanksgiving, because that's what we celebrate here in the UK. And we always have our harvest festival at church at the beginning of October. So very pleased to get that one out of the to be finished pile. I'm not sure of the fabric. It came as a little kit. I can't remember if the fabric came with the kit or whether it's some fabric I did, but I know that the beads and the silks came. So yes, and I just put a bit of simple gingham on the back. So that's finish number 2 for the challenge. Finish number 3 for the challenge is Blackbird Design Spell of the Moon, which, if you've been around here, you know I stitched earlier this year, so that's quite nice to get that finished straight away. And again, up on my autumn display. I've decided I will start the finishing challenge by finishing seasonal stuff so I can get it straight out. So I've done 3 sort of things for my autumn displays. So Spirit of the Moon by Blackbird Designs. It's stitched on Burnt Papyrus by Sugar Maples Fabrics. I think it was a 32 count. Using the called for overdyed threads. If you remember, when I was at my quilting retreat in April, I bought some Ruby Star Society fabrics, and this is one of the fabrics that I bought then, and just finished with some black rickrack around it. Again, very pleased to have that finished stress so quickly and out for my autumn display. And then finish number 4 for the challenge. If you've been here for a while, you did see me stitching this design because I stitched it during 2020. And this is another drawn thread, and it's called Happy Halloween. I think I stitched it on a 32 count fabric, but it might be 28. I don't have a note. And I used all the called for called for threads. So there's a variegated needle necessity thread called Copper Pennies, and the little button came with the chart. I had this frame that I picked up at TK Maxx at some point, thinking, oh, that looked good with something in it, and it fit perfectly. So I framed this one myself, and again, it's out on my autumn displays. The thing I find when I use ready-made frames is I take the glass out so that the chart will fit, and I figure that if it's only something that's going out seasonally and it's not staying up all the time, that doesn't matter. So that's another 3 things off the to be finished pile and into the completely finished pile. And as I said, in my 60 for 60 challenge, I'm 4 down, 2 months in. So if I can keep that rate going, I should hit my target. I just need to decide now what I am going to finish. I think I'm going to move on to Christmas things next, because I've got quite a few Christmas projects that I've stitched and never finished. So it's going to be quite good to get them out. I can already feel my voice going croaky, so you might just have to bear with me. So, what have I been stitching? We will start with the one that you've seen lots this year. That is my focus piece, Mistress sampler of bands, emblems and symbols by Forget-Me-Nots in Stitches. This is a picture of the full sampler. That's the top and that's the bottom. And I am stitching these ladies, who I have christened. Lauren refers to them as 3 queens. I'm referring to them as the Schuyler sisters from Hamilton. Hamilton is a favourite musical in our family. And here is my progress. See if I can get it all in to start with, and then I'll show you what I was actually stitching on. This is a bit of a beast, so still a fair bit to go yet. So I've worked on this twice since you last saw it, because when you last saw it I was working on this arbor. Since then I've got all of the central figure, who I've christened Angelica, in, well, apart from her hands, because there was a note on my chart from the class to say leave the hands to last for all the figures. And I've made a start on the next sister, who I've decided is Peggy. So yeah, so she will get ahead. It's just the order that Lauren gives you an order to stitch. Lauren Sauer, who's the designer behind Forget-Me-Nots in Stitches, gives you an order in the class notes as to how to stitch the dress. So you start with the design in the middle, and then you finish it off with the head and the crowns and the things. So really, really pleased with how this one is coming along. I doubt I'll get it finished by the end of the year, just because there's so much. There's some quite stitch heavy bands still to go, but I'm on track to finish it for June next year, which is when I'm doing a challenge with my friends that I go to. I go stitching with on a private retreat. It's our 20th anniversary of us all going away together. So we've all challenged each other to finish some long-term whips, and as this was my oldest, that's the one I sent. And for reference, when I picked it up to start stitching as my focus piece, I was up here when I started the challenge, so I've done over half of it. But like I say, I'm onto the stitch heavy bands now, so they take a bit longer. So the next rotation round I will get Peggy finished, and I will make a start on Eliza, but I'm not sure I will get Eliza. I might get Eliza finished, but I won't. If I do, I won't get any further than that in the 10-hour slot. If anyone's new here, I do a 10-hour rotation because that's about my week's stitching, although during September it turned out to be more like 2 weeks worth of stitching. And I work on 4 different projects in my rotation round. My focus piece gets worked on every rotation round, so she gets 10 hours every 4 projects. Using a mix of silks, Veriswa silks and sampler threads. Really enjoying stitching on that sampler, and I'm looking forward to getting some more done, and also looking forward to getting to the end, getting her framed and getting her on my wall. The next whip I worked on was one from the sampler Cove called Quaker Hussif. This is a chart that I've had in my stash for quite some time. I can't remember. 2004 this chart came out. You can tell it's an old one, it's still got a photo, it's an actual photo on the front. And I have the kit to make up the Hussif, as a friend was destashing it. We go, and here's my progress. I'll put in a picture here of where I started. I think I was up here in the alphabet, so I have got, so this time round I've taken the borders down. I think I was finishing off the alphabet. I got the next dividing band down, and I got the next two half medallions in to finish off that section, and that takes me to about 1/3 of the way down the Hussif. So I've still got a bit to do. I'm really enjoying stitching on this one. It's very soothing as it's only one colour of silk. It's being stitched in Gloriana Rosewood. I got a second skein, but it's a slightly different colour to the skein I had because I wasn't sure I'd got enough silk in the skein I did have. So I'm using one skein for the border and one skein for the middle, and we'll see how that works out. and the fabric is 36 count navy bean by Lakeside Linens, that I'd had in my stash for quite some time. I started this one in 2021. So as you can see, it's been going for a while, and it was time it got a bit more love. I forgot to say, Mistress L sampler I started in, as it was a class I took with Lauren in London through a shop called Hanging by a Thread. Unfortunately, the owner of that shop passed away a few years ago, and that was in 2013. Next up, we have a new start, which I forgot to tell you about in my last video, because it's my birthday in September, as I mentioned, and I do try and have a birthday start. So it's usually, because of the rate I finish some of my stuff, the only time in a year I will start a new large piece is in September. So the one I spun a wheel. I've got all my kitted up samplers on there, and the one that came up was Sarah Sophia Railton 1796 by Red Barn Samplers. Now, we were very kindly gifted this chart and the linen to stitch it by Ray Niles at the 2023 Great British Sampler Weekend. I didn't get to go to this one that's just gone. Not at all jealous, of course. So yeah, so I thought I'd better start some of the stuff we were given at the last retreat. So yeah, so that is Sarah Sophia Railton. I have a picture of the original sampler, and I will put that in there, that I took at the retreat. Sophia's being stitched in DMC, a mix of DMC cottons and I can't remember what they call it now, but the rayon thread. Let me have a look. DMC satin, they call it. I'm leaving all the rayons to the end. This is very much not my usual colour palette with these really hot pinks in it, but we shall see. So I say, Ray also gifted us the fabric, which is 40 count Mason linen in medium dark bottom box, which is lovely to stitch on. I'm really enjoying stitching on it. And this is how far I got on in 10 hours. So I'm going to leave all the blank spaces are where it should be filled in with the rayon thread. I am leaving the rayon thread to the very end, because as we all know, rayon thread is the work of the devil and it's an absolute sod to deal with. So I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it all in one go. But I'm really pleased with how much I got done and how it's looking so far. There is another border to go at the bottom, but that's the bulk of the first page of the chart done. And I think it's looking lovely. So see when I get back to that one. Then the next whip I have for you is one from 2017. The Yorkshire Stitchers are running a new thing called Spin the Wheel. So you nominate 6 projects, Eleanor spins the wheel and call out a number, and you work on it for 2 months. You're supposed to get 8 sessions in 2 months. I was a bit late starting, so the first project, so I put my oldest 6 apart from Mistress L. My next oldest 6 large projects on the wheel because I want to get some of them finished. So the one that came up was number 3, and that was One Moment in Time by Jackie Duplessis, and it's finally finished. I took this as an online class through the Shining Needle Society. So yeah, so it's a little bag with some smalls. He's stitching on a cream linen with a mix of overdyed threads, and apologies for the glare because it's still in a plastic bag, a soie saphine and a couple of 103s. And what I've been working my way through very slowly is all the bag panels, which are these. What you can't see, because it doesn't show up, is the cream back stitching on cream fabric, which made counting, let me just about see it, a little bit of a sod. And then each of them has a little motif, floral motif at the back. There are 8 of these, because there's one's the inside, one's the outside of the bag. There's 4 sides to it. Sorry about that. I finished the last of these back panels, so that's one thing out of the way. And then there's a little pocket on each panel, and I am in the process. I think I only got about 3 sessions in of the 8 because I started late and September was Septembering. I'm on the last of these side panels. When it's finished, it'll look like that. It's very pretty, and it's nice to see a bit of progress on that one. And I am looking forward to, when it comes up again, getting a bit more in and actually getting my 8 sessions in on that one. But it was nice to have it out. It's not come out for a bit, so that, and to actually get some progress. So the next whip I have to show you is one you have seen this year so far, because I spun my wheel and it came up with the Summer Schoolhouse series by Brenda Gervais. So I am working on pillow number 1, but there are 5 pillows, a chart for a horn book, which I'll probably make into a pillow because I don't have the horn book, and a strawberry. And I'm going to stitch them all in one go, which is why it's down as a large project in my rotation. I'm using all the called for overdyed threads on over 1 on 28 count mushroom lagana. And I will put a picture in of where I started, although it's in my last video I think, and this is where I've got to. So house is finished, bird is finished, alphabet is in, little flowers are in, and I'm starting on the border. So I still have to do the little medallion, finish that fine, and finish the bottom border, but I think one more rotation round should see that pillow done next time it comes up. So very pleased to have gotten a decent amount of progress in on that one. It's slow going with it being over 1, but there was quite a bit of over 1 fill-in this time, which was nice and mindless. And yeah, so I'm really pleased with my progress on that. This is why I need to lower my whip count, really, because I just don't see stuff often enough to make solid progress. But that is the overwhelming aim of my rotation and why I'm not starting. If I finish 2 projects up that aren't smalls, I just finish it and then start the next one. So you will see. Next one is my small project over the summer, and that is now finished, so I'll be starting a new one. Again, this was a gift at the Great British Sampler Weekend in 2023 from Robin of Old Willow Stitchery Design, and it's called My Scottish Pynkeep. It's taken from a sampler design that is on her website. You can see the full sampler on the website. And here is my finish. I stitched it on a scrap of 40 count light mocha linen because I had a piece, this piece sat there and it was exactly the right size for the design, which made it easy. And I used mostly the called for threads. There's just one of the greens I swapped out because I didn't have, I think the call for was Garrison green, I didn't have that. So I substituted a limited edition sampler thread that I'd had for years called Gecko, which looked to be about the right colour family, and I think it works quite well. So yeah, so time to get that finished up. In again will be a little pillow, I think. Get that finished up and I can get that out on display. These are my threads. So mix of weeks, sampler threads, gentle art, and one classic colourway. With the smalls, I tend to go, if I've got the call for colours, I will use them. If not, I'm just going to substitute. And then I had a finish of a medium-sized project, which, or what I classed as a medium-sized project. I think it's not that because it's all smalls. Williamsburg folk art sewing box with accessories from Mary Cox. I was very kindly gifted this kit by a friend along with the box. So I have the Liberty Hill box with my Liberty Hill collection. So quite pleased to have the stitching done to go with it. So please don't look too closely at my French knots, they're horrible. I am just going on consoling myself with the fact it is supposed to be folk art, but I'm not sure I can be bothered to pull them out and start again. Yeah, so there's a Pynkeep, that's the front for a needle case, that's with scissors, scissor fob. I've got all the finishing materials. The fabric is some Weeks Dye Works, and the threads used, there's one belle soie and then a couple of sampler threads. My thread keep is a Kelmscott Designs ones that I've had for quite a while, which I quite like using. There we go. That is Williamsburg folk art accessories. Again, nice to get one off my list. So that is the second medium-sized finish I've had, because I finished the Just Nan needle case last video. over the summer. So when I come to my plans, you'll see I'm having a new start because I finished 2, I can start 1. And I'm steadily working my way through my medium-sized projects and getting them down to a sensible number. It's just the large ones I need to work at, I think. And the last of my whips. This is one I've just finished working on. Rose Ada Featherstone from Hands Across the Sea Samplers. Rose Ada was an exclusive from Hobby House Needleworks about 4 years ago. Not sure there's a 2021, so yeah, 4 years ago. And I bought the kit at the time from Hobby House. Hobby House had done a over-dyed cottons conversion, so you could buy over-dyed cottons, which instead of the silks that Nicola did. I'm just going to look up in my notes from last time. Yeah, 40 count antique lace by Seraphim is the fabric. Now you saw this last time in my last video, because I was working on it over the summer, so it was quite nice when it came up again. And what I've done this time is just work on the house. I'll put a video clip in of where I was, and now, yeah, so I've just been building the house. I finished the roof, got the glazing in, started to get the front door in, and I'm working at filling it in. So when I picked this up to work on this year, I think I had some of the border in. So this year I have finished the border completely. I have finished that motif. No, that motif was finished. I think I'd done that one. I'd made a start on that one. So I'd made a start on that one. I've finished all that side. Filled in a lot of the border, and I've got the house in the middle. So that really pleased how well that coming along, because it's really nice to see some of these samplers grow. Still got a fair bit to go, because there's all those trees down the bottom to put in, but very, very nice to see some solid progress and to break the back of that house, because it's a big one. There's a lot of it's all filled in with weak sweet potato, so there's a lot of that stitching in my future. So I've got the top story in, I just need to work on the bottom. So that is Rose Ada Featherstone. So all that leaves me to show you is what I'm currently working on as my Spin the Wheel project. That's another Forget-Me-Nots in Stitches. It's called CMB 1759, A Sleeping Beauty Awakened. Now this was a workshop that was run at Fobbles in 2017. Trying to drop it's on scroll rods, so, and there were 4 different ways of stitching this sampler. The original sampler was entirely done in French knots and white work. So you could do a white work version that was doubled like this, or a really long single one. I think the original one was double. Or you could do a colour version in mostly cross stitch with a few other stitches in that, and either do the long thin version or the double version. I'm doing the double version. I'll put him where I was here. And then since I've picked this up, I've got 3 sessions in so far. I've finished off this vine over here and I've done one of the bands on this side. I don't know if you can see the flowers, there's some little pale blue flowers. So the dividing bands are all Montenegrin stitch. I've just started some stem stitch bands. There's some Smyrna crosses and there's some satin stitch as well in here, so as well as cross stitch. But it's quite a fun one to do because it's just all different borders on the way down. I'm at about a third of the way through it, so I don't have a picture of the whole thing because of the different ways it can be done. But this is one side. And I am here on it. So as you see, I've got a bit to go. And this is the second side, much larger bands. And I am here. So, like I say, about a third of the way through. So I've got a bit to go. It's being stitched mostly in sample threads. There's one silk. And it's a 36 count, I think light mocha linen. So it's a fun one to stitch because none of the bands take a very long time. So I'm going to put a bit more work in this rather than picking it up and putting it down. I'm going to do a 10-hour slot, which should get me close to most of my like I say, I've done 3 sessions on it. Doing another solid 10 hours should get me to my 8, and then we'll see how far I get. So that is the end of my whips. Let's see, I've worked on a few things. Progress has been slow on quite a lot of stuff just because I have work has been work. So we will move on to my plans for my next rotation round. So obviously I'm starting a new small, having finished that one off, and I thought I'd better get a head start on my Christmas ornaments. So apologies for the print quality because I need to replace the printer cartridges. I'm starting with an ornament for my daughter. This is Peppermint Panda from the Blue Flower. I bought this at the Jingle Ball last year. So this will also count towards the Back to the Ball sale that has been started. I can't remember who started it. Someone has started it on Instagram. I haven't bought a ticket for this year yet. I will be. I don't see that there's an overwhelming rush because I can't buy a class kit, and I know that I decided I'd wait till the rush had finished, and then I can just get in and get what I want. Still trying to work out if I want to do a class this year. But yeah, Peppermint Panda for my daughter. She is a young leader in rainbows and her name is Rainbow Panda. So she's a thing for pandas. So. I'm going to be stitching it on a piece of 40 count fairly neutral linen with the called for DMC. I don't expect that will take me too long, so hopefully that might even get done in one rotation round. If not, I can finish off in the other one. As I mentioned when I was going through my whips, when I finished the folk art accessories, that was my second. I've actually finished 4 of my medium size projects this year so far. I had a new start after the first 2, and I'm going to have a new start now. I've finished another 2, and I spun a wheel in my kitted projects, and the one that came up was Emerald Treasure by Lisa Steele. Now, Lisa Steele was everywhere in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. This design is copyright 1997. I think I bought it shortly after it came out and after I'd started cross-stitching. I have a big folder full of Lisa's designs, and then she just disappeared. So I've had it kitted up for most of 20 years as well, so I am really looking forward to getting stuck into it. It calls for a mix of DMC. There is 1 water lilies floss, some Karen blending filament, and number 4 braid, and beads, and a treasure, and it is on 32 count. I think this is the called for linen. I'd have to have a look and see what the colour is. Again, steel grey Belfast linen. As you can see from the folds in my fabric, it's been folded up in a drawer for best part of 20 odd years, so it's one I am looking forward to starting and getting done. There is a companion piece. I have the companion piece also kitted for 20 odd years, so it's time to get back to some of these old ones that I love. So yes, that's going to be my new medium size start. And then in my large projects, because I wanted to work, I didn't spin a wheel for this one because I wanted to work on one of my really older ones. So this is my second oldest project. It is called September Morning by It's Finally Finished, in an effort to try and get some of these larger ones a bit further close to the line. I'm going to work on that one. So I have finished one little bit of it, which is the pincushion. So it's a little box with some smalls. So this is a class I took with Jackie in 2016, and we would finish the little pincushion for the class so we could practice the finishing techniques. So I did. So I have that bit done. It's being stitched in some lovely overdyed threads and outlining in 103. And as far as my progress goes, I finished the larger sides of the bag, so even outside and an inside that's just got this polka dot pattern on. So this is all stitched over one. This is why one of the reasons it's still a whip. And then I am on the end side, so I've stitched one of them and I am just outlining the second, so you probably can't see that. You won't be able to see that. Oh, maybe just make out the outline, which will be the inside of that pocket. Gosh, words are hard today. And we'll have, again, this little polka dot, little flower design all over it. And then I repeat again to get the other two ends. And then there are some smalls that go in the box to finish. So yeah, I will put 10 hours in on that and see how far, move that on a little bit, because I'm actually quite keen to get some of these older large whips finished, because if I just wait for them to come up in my, which is why they're all in the spin the wheel with Yorkshire stitches, because if I wait for them all to come up in my focus slot, because some of them are barely started, that's going to be to finish up to 2020, my 2020 whips, it's going to take me another 3-4 years. So I want to get some progress in ahead of time, so I can knock some of these large ones out. So that's all my stitching, that's my plans, and obviously I'll work on Mistress L and see if I can't finish the ladies section off. I might do, I might not, depending how we go. So I'm just going to pause you and pick some other stuff up. Right, we'll go into the knitting section now, because there's been a bit of knitting on all my projects. The first one I've got is my rainy window socks. Now that's an awful, because the chart's got really mangled because it's in a little project bag in my bag. These are socks from Helen Stewart of Curious Homemade. These were part of one of the sock societies, but I can't remember which one. I'm currently we've just finished her most recent sock society, so I need to get sock knitting. And I am finishing up the last sock, second sock, and I'm on to the toe. The last time you saw it on a video, I was down here at the heel. So since then, I turned my heel and I have gotten the foot stitched, and like I say, I am just decreasing for the toe. This is being knit in some yarn from Knitting Goddess, who is no longer dying, unfortunately. I think it's her Brit sock, and the colourway is Superhero Jeans. So like I say, this is the second sock, so I will very soon have some a new pair of socks in my sock drawer. So then in September, in September I worked on my, again by Curious Handmade, everything I'm knitting at the moment is by Helen Stewart. I worked on my habitation throw some more, and got a bit done on this. Bear with me because some of it's come off the needles. I have to do some work on that one. Finish recording, and here we are. I am very much on the decrease now. The last time you saw it is where the progress marker is. So I finished another, I'm just using this to finish off some of the yarn from all the shawls and socks I've knit over the years. There's a very definite colour palette, as you can tell. So yeah, so the progress marker shows where I was last time you saw it. There's been, I'm on to about my third pattern repeat. Sorry, I'm not doing this very well because I'm losing needles or losing stitches all over. But I am definitely working my way up from the corner. So I'll probably be about halfway down the decreases now. So I think this yarn was socks. I can't remember whose it is, but it was very nice. Again, no longer dyeing. Colonette maybe? Can't remember. From a long time ago, from one of the first sets of pairs of socks I knit, which have long since died to death. And then this month I'm working on my Asana shawl, also by Helen Stewart. This is from the very first of her shawl societies. And I kitted it up at the time and it never got cast on. So I'm knitting this with some St Kilda Yay lace from Blacker Yarns, which was a limited edition collab again with the Knitting Goddess, and the Stack and Armin which it's Gaelic, so I have totally massacred the Gaelic pronunciation. It is this lovely variegated purple colour. Let's find my progress keeper. It's there. So since you last saw it, there's been a bit of progress. So I was there. So the row's getting quite long now. I'm almost, I think I've about another 20 rows to go, and I'm onto the lace section on this one. So that's quite nice. It's knitting up quite nicely. That's after a couple of months worth of work. I don't do a lot of knitting because I've still got issues with my hand and knitting aggravates it, but I should get some done this holiday because I'm not using a mouse in quite the same way as I do at work. So yeah, so plodding along with my knitting projects. So I'm going to finish off with what stash I bought. There's not a lot, but there is one big bit. Oh, a couple of big bits actually. In September, for my birthday, I got a newsletter from Beyond Measure, and they said they had a delivery of Ernest Wright scissors. So I bought myself a pair of Ernest Wright embroidery scissors as a birthday treat. Beautiful, beautiful scissors, handmade in Sheffield. Steel. They came with a sheath for them. Very much enjoying those. They were a real splurge with those scissors. So highly recommend. I've got a pair of their stalk scissors, also beautiful. Highly recommend Ernest Wright scissors, but they are also tend to be made to order, so there isn't a lot of them out there. I have a couple of new charts. I needed to buy one thread, and as we know, one thread cannot travel alone. So I stuck a couple of charts in from Patchwork Rabbit just to make it worthwhile. I got Anne's Violets from Shakespeare's Peddler because I've liked that one since Market, and I think I have most of the colours called for to stitch that one. And then Gifts of the Season from Blackbird Designs, because I love that sampler, although I could be tempted to go for the Hussif sampler because, you know, that's the way my brain works. We shall see. There's 4 lovely charts in there. There's the 2 on the front, and then there is another little chart for a paperweight, and let's say the chart for the original sampler. That's it. So another chart. No, those were the charts. So those are the only charts that have come in. Okay. And having said I don't get into project bags, then a few people have been really tempting me. Canny Little Fox does her updates on Instagram, and she posted this little mini keep again around my birthday. It's dragons, so I had to have it. So it's inside. I'm using this with Sophia Railton, so that's the threads for that. Quite pleased with that. And then in her most recent update, Sarah at Penelope's Pocket had some Japanese inspired Liberty bags, so I jumped on one of those because I love the colour, love the pattern. And that's the inside fabric. It's lovely. This is her. She also included a Peter Rabbit postcard and a sweet note and a bunny charm, which I'm sure I can find something for it to go on. So I just need to decide which whip is going in there. And then there's been no quilting this last 2 months. I'm hoping I can get back to quilting one of my quilts this holiday, but that did not stop me ordering a quilt kit from Modern Lisa. She had a Halloween kit going, so that is the finished quilt. And I got a lovely package all wrapped up with a few little spooky extras. There's some pins and some washi tape. This is the binding fabric. It's orange with skeletons on. There is skull fabric, potions, black fabric with bats. I think that was my backing fabric, to be honest, which I haven't put in here. Pumpkins, pink pumpkins. So obviously I've not gotten into this one, but this was the big investment. And I am thoroughly looking forward to it. I could thoroughly recommend Lisa's quilt kits if you ever want anything to try. This is her card. Lisa at the Modern Quilt, and she's at Modern Quilt Club on social media. So as you know, I do mystery quilts through Lisa, and I haven't signed up for a mystery quilt this time because I want to get down. I was trying to get some of them done, but I couldn't resist this Halloween quilt. So I suspect that will be a retreat piece that I do at one of the Modern Quilt, because I go to Lisa's retreats as well, and they're fun. That's me rattled through everything. I'm just at about the hour mark. Yeah, sorry, I'm been a bit croaky, and so it's been a bit of a rush because I just wanted to get through everything before my voice gave out. I'll probably see you again at Christmas, because I can't see me getting much chance looking at the diary for November and December. It's looking quite busy, so it will probably be Christmas before I have a chance to record again. I shall be around on Instagram. I have been enjoying watching a few people's videos. I don't get a lot of time when I'm working to watch videos, so I'm going to do a bit of a catch up with a few people. Been catching up with Stitchy Sally, Penelope's Pocket, Jackie Comfort Stitching. Who else have I been watching? Michelle Cozy Egg, because she's into her Dark October vlogs. think that's about it so far. Oh, Tara Sully Stitcher. Again, the awesome display of Halloween displays around her house are absolutely amazing. Anyway, so yeah, I'm rambling. So I'm going to say goodbye and get this edited and uploaded so I can go and rest my voice. So I shall see you at Christmas. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon.